The US dollar remains the most easily tradable currency in the world still. A strong US currency was a crucial factor, remember, in the Second World War. The US dollar has been the mightiest of them all for a very long time. But its powers, as I said, are diminishing, and the search for alternatives is on. So how did the dollar become the currency of choice across the world? And more importantly, what kind of a future is it up against? This report tells you more.
There are many kinds of cash that the world trades with, but none quite like the US dollar. The dollar is just one of the world's 185 currencies. But it makes up over 60% of all central bank foreign exchange reserves in the world. It's the king of the foreign exchange market. 90% of forex trading involves the US dollar. It might not have been officially christened so, but it is the de facto global currency. More than 1/3 of the world's GDP comes from countries that peg their currencies to the dollar, and it all began back in the year 1944. When the world's developed countries met at Bretton Woods in New Hampshire in the US and agreed to peg the exchange rate for all currencies to the US dollar. Up until then, most countries were on the gold standard, as in governments promised to redeem their currencies for their value in gold upon demand. But also around that time, the United States held the largest gold reserves on the globe. This agreement allowed other countries to back their currencies with dollars rather than gold. By the early 1970s, countries began demanding gold for the dollars they held. They needed to combat inflation. The US wouldn't allow all its reserves to be depleted, and so President Nixon separated the dollar from gold. However, by that time, the dollar had already become the world's dominant reserve currency, and so has continued enjoying this status. But that may be changing now. Look at the developments. China has emerged as the second largest economy in the world. In March 2009, China and Russia called for a new global currency. They wanted the world to create a reserve currency that is disconnected from individual nations, one that is able to remain stable in the long run. China even asked the International Monetary Fund to develop a currency to replace the dollar. By 2016, the Chinese renminbi became another one of the world's reserve currencies. And China wants the yuan or the renminbi to replace the US dollar in the future. But for now, the relative strength of the US economy supports the dollar. It's the reason the dollar is still the most powerful currency in the world. To this date, in some countries of the former Soviet Union and in Latin America, the US dollar is often used as hard currency in day-to-day transactions. So it's going to take a lot for the dollar to be knocked off its perch. Bureau Report, Wion, World is One.